Good morning, John. Over the last 19 years, our internet lives have changed a lot. The internet has changed a lot. At any given moment in those 19 years, I have had a different relationship and I've felt differently about what I want to share and what I want to do. But one thing that feels to me like it's been sort of a constant trajectory is that I kind of every year I have felt more like a tool that I need to use. So like I am a thing that I need to utilize. You might be thinking that doesn't sound healthy. I'm not talking about what sounds healthy. As a quick example, tomorrow I'm going to be putting up a Hank's Channel video that is about one bizarre and manipulative paragraph from a press release issued by the Department of Health and Human Services back in April. It's really just one sentence that is making the case that expanded diagnostic criteria for autism has nothing to do with the increase in autism diagnosis, which I find baffling and fascinating and horrifying all at the same time. Baffling because, of course, it goes against the fundamentals of common sense and also a lot of research. Fascinating because I did kind of enjoy the mystery of figuring out how the data were manipulated to make it look like this was the case. And horrifying because the tax dollars of the American people are now being spent to intentionally mislead and misinform the American people, which seems bad. I felt incapable of not making this video. Once I started down the path, once I spotted this weird thing, I had to see it through all the way to the end, which is kind of frustrating because I have other stuff to do right now, but the world is full of things like that. I just feel bad that I can't do more, that all of the things that I want to do compete with each other. And John, you're great at advising me on this stuff, and so is Catherine, but I do feel like I have a lot of power, and with that power comes great responsibility, but no one shows Spider-Man weeping in his therapist's office because he can't figure out how to share the load of being Spider-Man, and maybe he doesn't even want to share the load of being Spider-Man. Maybe he likes being the only Spider-Man. Now that I'm thinking about this, there's a whole multiverse of Spider-Man, so maybe that's one solution. One of the most important moments of my first novel for me is something almost no one ever points out. So April and Maya, they've broken up. They're working together again, and they're trying to figure out how to solve a problem. I don't even remember the specifics. And Maya is actually, no, you don't need to worry about this because there are going to be some other people who are going to come together and do that work. And April says out loud, oh, so that problem's going to solve itself. Maya, with some frustration, replies, no, that problem is going to be solved by other people. That hits really hard for me because it's something that I have a hard time keeping in my brain. That problems are being solved by people all over the place all the time, and I'm not the only one who needs to do it. And also, when someone else solves a problem, it is as big of a deal as when I solve a problem. They are doing the work out there, and I wish I could feel their work the way I feel my work. Regardless, there's a problem, which is that the more I imagine myself as a tool, the more I am capable of accomplishing, the more I think important impact is made, but also the more I imagine myself as a tool, the less happy I am. I think that's fair. What is happiness? I don't know. For the last couple of months, I've been feeling bad. Stress and worry and honestly fear are probably part of that. The fear is for people who I know, who I love, who I think are less safe now than they once were in their country. It's also fear of losing things that I believe in and that I am proud of about America. So that's somewhat hard. And then there's also closer in fears. There's all the things that I have built and that I'm trying to be a good steward of. And I'm trying to both build them into things that can be sustainable long-term without me, but also be fuel for those things so that they can have the impact that I feel like they can have. So it's both how do we create this thing sustainably so it's not on my shoulders all the time, but it's also okay, but my shoulders are a really powerful tool for this thing. So that's part of it. And it's so weird to talk about health stuff, but there's also been a piece of it that doesn't feel like stress to me. It's sort of oftentimes accompanies stress though, so I feel it's either triggered by it or it is just a new way of feeling stress. But it's just a lot of exhaustion, lack of motivation, physical aches and pains, headache. I'm not really a headache guy. And of course, I just wanted to ignore it at first. And I don't want to talk about it publicly before it's more or less resolved, because everybody's gonna freak out about cancer. So, which is ultimately, I kind of wanted to ignore it. I was this will probably go away. But my oncologist in the last you're in remission meeting that we had, he was if anything seems weird, just come in. It doesn't matter what it is. If it feels weird, come in. So I did the thing. I did the tests. I did my blood work. Relieved and happy to find that I am still totally normal and in remission. But one of the risk factors for relapse is stress. And I'm well, gosh, really? I shouldn't be so stressed then? Okay, great. Look around. How do I do that? Now, acutely, not chronically, but like just over the last week, like waiting around for the results of tests has not been relaxing. And so in those times, I'm like grateful for the work, you know? I'm grateful to be going down a rabbit hole and reading a bunch of research to try and figure out how data was collected and analyzed. So sometimes the work is good. Like I love my work. There are moments where I'm like, I cannot believe I have such a cool job. And then sometimes it's just stress on the stress, you know? Sometimes that stress comes out of nowhere. I would have had no idea that it was going to come and smack me. And like sometimes this is like public figure stuff. Sometimes this is like behind the scenes work. But oftentimes I like don't know how to fix it. Like if there was a way to work through it, that would be great. You know, obviously I'd have to put other things on pause. But sometimes there isn't. Sometimes it's just there. And there's like nothing I can do about it. But, sorry this isn't super linear, but just continuing on. Since cancer is definitely not responsible for the way I've been feeling, since I'm still in remission. That's great and relieving. That means it's something else. And I will say that I feel like I've been improving. It might just be like a much more significant manifestation of anxiety than I have previously had. Which can happen. It might feel different as my body continues to change as I get older, or possibly I've thought about whether I'm having like a delayed bout of long COVID that's I'm like having to crawl out of, and a lot of my symptoms do overlap with a lot of the symptoms of post-viral syndromes. Or maybe I'm made up of 30 trillion little balls that are all coordinating each other through an invisible symphony of chemical and electrical signals. So I shouldn't be surprised if it just feels off sometimes, especially when you add that together with stress and worry and fear and all the complicated feelings about how the internet, which is the place where I live as a whole, appears to have been a bad idea. On balance, you know, obviously there are good parts. Speaking of, John, you probably have had the thought here, oh Jesus, maybe we should delay Pizzamas or something so that Hank can have some rest. But no, I am really looking forward to Pizzamas. Pizzamas is like the weirdest kind of vacation ever. It's like a nostalgia for work. It's work nostalgia. It's for a simpler era of work where I can and mostly like clear off my schedule and just be 2007 Hank. Just make the videos I want to make. Just fly by the seat of my pants, connect with you and with Nerdfighteria, and just be a vlog brother for a couple of weeks. So I'm really hoping that for those 2 weeks I can just be a vlog brother. In fact, maybe I'm just having this idea right now. Maybe for those 2 weeks, I should just delete other social media from my phone. Because I do think, like, I have a lot of sources of stress that are about my life and my work, but I have a lot of sources of stress that are, like, just the fire hose. You know, the fire hose of misery that, like, I do need to engage with sometimes, but I also have to sometimes be doing things that I just enjoy, just to remind myself and to, like, stretch the muscle of enjoying something. If that sounds crazy, I don't know. Like, I have found that if I don't enjoy stuff, I forget how to. So yeah, for the next couple of weeks, I'm just going to try to enjoy being a vlog brother. And you know what that means, John? It means I will see you on Monday.